So sometimes Ori sleeps in his carrier, and he tends to do stuff like this. Look at his head. That's his freaking head in there. Look at them teeth. How is this comfortable? I will never understand. So today is Monday. I honestly think that's just the day I'm going to start these vlogs now instead of Sunday, because Sunday is usually like the rest day of the week. So I think I'm just gonna kind of let that be the day that I don't film. So I'll just have the vlog weeks be kind of like Monday through Saturday kind of thing, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, yesterday morning, we actually had a little adventure that we were not expecting, because we had to take this creature over here. Oh god, trying to grab him. Oh my god. We had to take this thing to the emergency vet, and it's a vet we hadn't gone to before because his normal vet doesn't have an emergency line, so we had to like Google the closest like 24-hour vet kind of deal, and luckily there was one that was only 1 metro stop away, so we took him there yesterday morning because the previous night I noticed he had kept going in his litter box but wasn't necessarily like doing anything. And then the next morning, Sunday morning, he was literally just constantly going in and out of the litter box. Like he would go in there for a minute, just kind of like sit there and then come out and just keep literally doing that all morning. So we were scared that like he couldn't use the bathroom kind of thing. And it turns out that it ended up not being like an emergency, like it wasn't anything super serious, and he got an anti-inflammatory shot, and he has medicine, 2 different medicines we have to give him twice a day, and he's still like acting normal and everything. He actually seems to be feeling better today, and he's still going in the litter box quite a lot and being a little weird with that, but it's not as bad as it was yesterday. And pretty much we just have to keep an eye on him the next few days, and he's eating right now, and seeing how he acts and everything, and kind of go from there. So yeah, yesterday was a lot more exciting than we were expecting it to be. But today, I just finished reading 2 chapters in Les Miserables. I did look ahead, and there are only 2 more chapters in this book in part 2. Thank God, because we are still talking about Waterloo. And these 2 chapters were the type where I'm reading but not really absorbing the information, because it was essentially talking about like, was Waterloo happening a good thing? Was it a bad thing? This was like Europe versus France kind of deal. So it was all just kind of like, I don't care. But I think what this is leading up to is that Waterloo was like the beginning of the end for Napoleon kind of thing. But I guess you can say it's like the trigger for some of the conflict that's going to be happening in the book. At least that's, I assume, why he's talking about it, and I really hope he gives kind of a reason in these next 2 chapters, because otherwise, what was the point? So I just removed the cover from the couch. It's been covered all winter, and because today actually turned out to be a really nice day. It's supposed to hit 60. It is blue skies and sunny, although not sunny on the terrace anymore. Torti just went back behind the cover, and Ori is exploring a bit. Hey you! What doing? Yeah, there's still some stuff from it being covered on the couch, but I'll take care of that another time, because it seems like it did get wet underneath the cover a bit, so the cushion at the end there needs to dry out a bit. Oh, there's Torti. But yeah, I need to redo some of the plant pots and stuff, and like that big ass succulent in the background there, that needs to be put in a different pot completely. So I'm really looking forward to start getting some of the plant stuff happening, but firstly I need dirt. But yeah, I'm just gonna chill out here for a few minutes with the cats. I'm actually procrastinating putting away groceries. It's gotten to that part of the day where if I don't film now, it's not gonna happen. And oh my gosh, Torti's getting up and moving everything again. Can you not? Are you gonna stay there? Okay, thank you. Alright. Anyway, some things I need to talk about first. What is today? Today is Wednesday. Okay. Yesterday, we ended up having to take Ori to the vet again. we noticed that there was some blood in his urine. Basically, he had gone to groom himself and we saw blood on him. So we took him back to the vet and they did an x-ray and a urinalysis, but we won't have the results of the urinalysis for a few more days yet. We have to call on Saturday about it. But the x-rays came back okay. Like, his bladder was really tiny, so they couldn't really see much of it, really. But basically, he's constipated is part of the problem too. But they think he has a bladder infection, so he's on medication now for that. They switched the medication that they had put him on the 2 days prior. So he also has an oil that he's taking now too, which is helping him not be constipated anymore. And it might be a little bit TMI, but it really scared us, and we were afraid that it could be potentially like life-threatening at some point. I mean, seeing blood on your animal like isn't exactly the best thing ever, so that was a bit scary for us. But he is acting a lot more normal now. He's sleeping on Thomas' desk, so he definitely seems to be feeling better. And he did like pass stool and all of that this morning, so which he hadn't really been doing for the past 5 days. So he is not in any like danger or anything right now. We just pretty much have to keep giving him his medicine and keep an eye on him. And we'll know the specific bacteria that's messing him up on Saturday, hopefully. So I haven't read my chapter yet today, but that's because I have been super busy planning our Sicily trip at the end of the month. I don't think I've mentioned it in any of these vlogs yet. Also, if you hear a weird noise, it's Torti eating her dry food. But last year, for my 30th birthday, which my birthday is March 29th, we were gonna go to Catania and Palermo, Sicily, because my mom's side of the family's from Palermo, and I literally just grew up hearing our family's from Palermo, our family's from Palermo. So I always knew I wanted to go there one day. But COVID canceled all that. So this year we're trying to go again. And we're gonna be gone for 6 days. I think it is Thursday through Wednesday. So next Thursday is when we leave, and the following Wednesday is when we come back. And I'm one of those people that needs to like plan out everything, but in this case it is very much needed because the hours that things are open in Sicily is absolutely bizarre. A lot of places are completely closed in the afternoon for lunch. Some it's just from like noon to 2, others it's from 1 to 3. Torti keeps jumping on the cat tree. While others, they close at noon and don't reopen until 5 and are open from 5 to 7. So like it just really depends, and I'm gonna fiddle with this because it's bothering me. Okay. Good enough. So you kind of need to plan so you have places you can go to when other stuff is closed and know when to eat, so you're not eating when stuff's open and then trying to do things when they're closed. And some places are closed on Mondays, some places are closed on Tuesdays, some places are only open one day out of the week. Like there's one like archaeological ruin kind of thing that I was interested in. It's catacomb, that's what it is. There's a catacombs I was interested in seeing, but it's only open on Sundays. But we're gonna be in that town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's just like, welp, can't do that. I've also been running into the situation with the planning the Palermo part, where the major things that I really wanted to do are temporarily closed and have been for months, apparently. So there's things like that where if I wasn't looking things up in advance, we would not have a very good time. So I literally have an itinerary of like where we're going, where we're eating. It's not planned out like we have to do this at this specific time, but it's basically like, hey, this day we're gonna try and hit up these places. And I know when they close, so at this time we'll have lunch, and then after that, these places should be open so we can go do that kind of thing. And I pretty much have, like, I have all of the Catania stuff except for some of the restaurants figured out. And today's my first day looking at Palermo stuff, and it's literally all I've been doing all day. And it's all I've been doing the past several days, really, but I really want to make sure I have it done before we go. So I'm a bit paranoid about it, and so I've just been majorly focusing on that and pretty much nothing else, which is why I haven't read my chapter yet. But yesterday I read 2 chapters, and they were the last 2 chapters in book 1 of part 2. So we are now to book 2 finally. So hopefully we're done with Waterloo, which I completely forgot what book 2 is called. Okay, book 2, the ship. I don't know if it's Orion or Orion. It's Orion, so it could be probably either way, essentially. But the first chapter is called Number 24601, which is Jean Valjean's prisoner number, becomes number 9430. So see what that means. We'll find that out today. But the last 2 chapters of Waterloo, we finally have the connection to the story. And it is the most completely ridiculous thing. I kind of dislike Victor Hugo for doing this. But he pretty much talks about how with any war, there are basically scavengers following along and like looting the corpses, like the bodies of the fallen and everything, stealing all the stuff, like clothing, everything kind of deal. And it's talking about how there's this one guy that's kind of scavenging over the field of Waterloo in the middle of the night, and he actually finds a soldier buried under like people and horses and rubble and stuff that's alive. And he pulls him out, and the man lies and says he's a fellow soldier. And the guy is just like going in and out of consciousness. And so he's like, you're my savior, like you saved me, what's your name? And the guy says, Thénardiers. And so it's like, oh, so that's the connection. And that's why it's in the Cosette chapters, I guess. So, I mean, it has to be the innkeeper guy then, I guess. Otherwise, I don't understand the point of why this would have been included. But that's the connection, and I'm just going to read the last little bit here. The prowler muttered hurriedly, I was in the French army like you. I've got to leave you. They'll shoot me if they catch me. I've saved your life. You must look after yourself now. Because there was someone, he could hear someone coming in the distance. What's your rank? Sergeant. And your name? Thénardier. I shall not forget that name, the officer said, and you must remember mine. My name is Pontmercy. So, I don't know if that guy's name is going to mean anything. It probably should to me. I don't know. But the Thénardier guy being there, it's just like, really? And this is literally in just like the last 2 pages of that whole Waterloo section. So it just feels like a lot for just the tiniest bit of plot. But we are now in a new book, so new part of the story, going back to Jean Valjean, and we will see what happens with him now.
You piggy dipping?
So it's been a few days, and today is actually Friday. I'm gonna give a little update on this boy right here, who is in desperate need of a brush. So Sunday, he went to the vet. We did it as like an emergency thing. I already kind of explained that situation. Tuesday, we took him into the vet, because he'd basically just gotten worse, no real improvement. This is a bit TMI, so if you don't want to hear about the bowel movements of a cat, skip ahead. But the whole situation with like his bladder was getting better, he's on antibiotics, fine. Well, Wednesday morning ended up being the last time he pooped. And the next day comes, he doesn't do anything, and we're like, all right, if we get to 48 hours where he doesn't poop, then we're gonna have a problem, gonna have to call the vet again. So we go to bed that night and we're like, all right, we're getting closer and closer to 48 hours. And in the 46th hour, he finally goes. So this has all kind of been a bit of a roller coaster the past few days with Ori, because he really hasn't been acting that different. So it's just been so odd that he's had these litter box problems and stuff. But he literally does like human-sized poops. So seeing him do that, like I've never been so happy to see poop before in my life. But luckily the oil and antibiotics seem to be helping him, but now he's just like sneezing constantly. I don't know what's up with that, but obviously we're going to be keeping our eye on him closely for the next few days still, just to make sure he continually is getting better. But it seems like we are out of the woods for now, so that's a good thing. On to Les Miserables. What a jump. So I'm actually done with book 2 because book 2 was only 3 chapters long, and I just read the 3rd chapter today. It was actually a longer chapter, but essentially it's just like this weird little snippet of Jean Valjean being recaptured, which it doesn't really go into detail about that. We're pretty much reading it. Torti's eating, so you might be hearing her. Crunch, crunch. We're mainly seeing it through newspaper articles, and so we're seeing those little snippets of him being recaptured. His number is now 9430, I think it is, if I'm remembering correctly, which I did not know any of this part happened, but he's taken back to Toulon, which is where he had served his prison time before. It talks about, I think it also shows some news articles of like his trial. So it talks about that briefly as well, and he gets sentenced to basically life of hard labor, which is what he was doing before. So it's just like same old that he's already experienced kind of thing. And then we kind of fast forward 8 years, I think, because when we were talking about Waterloo, it was 1815, but I'm not sure if that's the year that we had ended when we were talking about Jean Valjean before or not. But we're now in the year 1823, I think. So there's actually a bigger gap between when Fantine dies and he goes to get Cosette than I thought there was. But surprise, surprise, he escapes again, but this time he actually fakes his own death. Basically, he's in Toulon, they're in this port, this fancy ship comes in, they're working on repairing it, blah, blah, blah. And there's like this accident where this guy is just like dangling over the water on a rope. No one's going to save him. So Jean Valjean asks permission to go help the guy, and the guard says yes, and he literally just fucking like snaps off the ankle shackle like it's nothing and just waltzes away to go save this guy. And he does save him and everything, and the crowd is like, free this man, free this man. And so I'm like, oh, maybe this is how he is freed and he's not, doesn't have to like escape or whatever. But no, instead, he freaking, like, falls off the boat into the water and is presumed dead. So, I'm gonna assume that was on purpose and not an accident kind of thing. But I'll probably find out in the next chapter for sure. But he fakes his death, gets away, and so I'm gonna assume from here he's going to try to go to Montfermeil, I think it is, to try to get Cosette. Because the next book is entitled Book 3, Fulfillment of a Promise. Oh, and the chapter 1 is even called The Water Situation at Montfermeil. So, there we go. So hopefully we are finally at the point where Cosette is going to make an appearance, but yeah, we'll see how accurate that is. Fast forward, and it is now Sunday, actually. I kind of forgot to film the end yesterday. Wasn't exactly feeling up to it. I just finished my chapter for today, and we are being more introduced to the Thénardiers. The first chapter is essentially just kind of talking about Montfermeil, which is the town they are in, and how it's kind of difficult for them to get water, and so Cosette is usually the one that has to go to the wells and get water and stuff like in the night and everything. The second chapter is called Completion of Two Portraits because it goes into more detail about the character and how they look like of the Thénardiers. And I just wanted to read this sentence here because wow, is that quite insulting. It says, Thénardier, who now, can't even say the second word right. Thénardier was now just over 50, and Madame Thénardier was nearly 40, which in a woman is the equivalent of 50. So husband and wife may be said to have been of the same age. Holy shit, Victor Hugo, what the fuck is that bullshit? Damn, like that is some pretty shitty thing to say against a woman there. But it goes on to describe them in more detail and everything, and the people that play them in the musical, the one that I talked about like way back in video 1, the 10-year anniversary one from like, is it 1990 or the end of the 80s or something like that? The people that play those characters there are perfect. Like exactly how they're described in the book, like that is how they appear. Like I'm quite impressed by that and happy about that. Like the descriptions are spot on to how they appear in the musical. And then reading on, at the end of the chapter, it talks about how he charges people for like every little thing, like if they leave the window open, the flies their dog eats, like everything. And so I'm like, that is where their song came from, Master of the House. Like it's actually kind of cool to see what was taken from the book and put into the musical, and like this chapter alone, like that's the song. And I don't know, I think that's just really cool to see. I just find it fascinating. But yeah, they're pretty shitty people, and this also confirmed that they do have more than one child. They have more than Eponine. So I'm not sure why they got rid of the children in the musical and the movie. As I read on and find out more about their children, maybe I'll see why. They probably don't play as a big a part in the story as Eponine does. But there's 2 daughters, and I don't remember what the second daughter's name was, so we're just gonna skip over that. But then they also have a son, which in 1823 he's only 3 years old, but they have no love for him. And so there's a scene in here where he's crying, and Thénardier tells his wife, like, go take care of the child, and she's just like, I don't wanna. So they just leave him crying. And it's just like, oh shit, I will be surprised if he lives, like if he becomes an adult kind of thing. But it even goes on to say that she only has love for her children, and on top of that, only for the daughters. So she only cares for Eponine and the other daughter, where Thénardier himself, he only cares about getting rich. So they are described as how they are definitely portrayed in the musical and the movie, for sure. Oh yeah, Waterloo also comes up, like the connection, it's finally there, although it's only there for like 2 paragraphs. Apparently the inn is basically called like the Inn of the Waterloo Sergeant, and because that's what he portrayed himself when he found that soldier. And he basically, like it said, if he's in Belgium, then he's going to present himself as a Belgian. A Benjan? What the fuck's a Benjan? If he's in France, he's going to be a Frenchman. If he's going to be in Germany, he's a German kind of thing. So he kind of just becomes what his surroundings are. They said that he would have just been with a band of people that were just scrounging around for stuff after the battle. And so he said he was a sergeant. And so when he built the inn and everything, he tells this story of how he like protected the soldier in Waterloo and he managed to survive and all this stuff. So he's an exaggerator, a liar, all of that kind of deal. But I mean, I'm just glad it was brought up again, but still, just, it's such a tiny part. It's like, I don't think we needed so much on Waterloo just for that part. But that's where I'm at right now. We are definitely inching closer and closer to where Jean Valjean comes into the picture. Next week is gonna be the week where we fly to Sicily. So, God, I have no idea when that video will go up, but that's going to be a very, very chaotic one. So I'm not sure how much I will film before we leave, just because I know I'm going to be going crazy with making sure everything is set up, the animals are taken care of, we have everything we need, cleaning the apartment, all of that stuff. So prepare for chaos, essentially, but Thank you for hanging out with me. It is always appreciated, even though not much happened this week, but I was busy doing stuff in the house. And until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.